Crossroads Community Church. We are so glad that you decided to check us out. You are invited to visit us in person at 9 or 11 a.m. on Sunday mornings. If you would like to partner with us in our mission to connect others with God, you can visit us on our website at www.crossroads.cc and click on the Online Giving tab. We hope you enjoy this sermon from our most recent service.
There's just a feeling you get when you walk in the door that this is home, and the people welcome you. It is truly come as you are.
The worship team is just amazing. It's just so well done. I'm just blown away every time I come to church.
I love the fact that my kids want to go. Like, they want to be here. They want to be here every week.
I like how easy it is to serve. It's not hard at all to get plugged in somewhere.
We just feel so comfortable here, and everybody is just so welcoming, and there's always somebody to talk to.
I love my church.
Yeah. There were some very talented people putting together our videos. They do a great job. What's up, guys? Everybody good? Man, I feel like it's January 1st or something. Everybody's back at church, and it's really cool. Thanks for being here today. I just love this time of the year. And just as we kind of kick it off, let's talk about some of the things that we love, okay? So everybody needs to participate. I know all the introverts are getting sweaty right now, but it's okay, all right? Just all I'm going to ask you to do is raise your hand. You don't have to come up here or do anything. Just raise your hand by saying, yeah, that's me, okay? So how many of you would say you love coffee? I see a lot of you drinking it right now. As we were saying that, you were taking your sip of coffee. Yeah. I'm never been much of a coffee drinker myself because I tend to like the cream more than the coffee. That's kind of a problem, right? So I don't really drink a lot of coffee. How about this? How many of you love the show? Come on, I know you guys lots of you are going to say this, right? You love the show The Office. How many of you love the show The Office? All right. There's just not enough of you raising your hands right now, okay? You are not welcome here any longer. Get out. Just kidding. But man, we love The Office in our home. If you don't like it, it's probably because you haven't given it a good shot. You need to watch it more than like one episode or two episodes. Like, kind of get into it and you'll be hooked for sure. How many of you love cotton candy? Yeah? All right. I can remember being 8 years old and stopping at Busch Gardens with my grandparents. They were in town visiting, and we went and got some cotton candy, and then we decided to get on one of the rides, and they held the cotton candy for us, but when we came back, it was gone. And we were like, Nanny, Papa, where's the cotton candy? Like, it melted. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not so sure. I'm a little older and a little wiser. I think they might have eaten it. How many of you love Christmas? Yeah, man, we do. We love Christmas. We're 14 weeks away from Christmas. 14 weeks away, start shopping. It's time to start shopping. We love Christmas at our home. How many of you love the beach? Yeah, lots of you love the beach. Like, some of you love it so much, like even if your in-laws asked you to go, you'd go. Like, you're like, I'm going to the beach. Disappear for 3 days, and you're like, where you been? I've been on a hike for 3 days. Yeah, I've been on a hike. But love the beach. I love the sand, the waves. It's just relaxing for me to be able to go there. How many of you love Chick-fil-A? Yeah, every hand in the room, man. They put crack in that stuff. There's something going on with Chick-fil-A, for sure. Did you guys hear that the Chick-fil-A on Kiln Creek, the one in Kiln Creek, somebody stole the cow costume from there? It was an utter nightmare. Well, just kidding. Just making sure you guys are awake. How many of you, last one, you love football? How many of you love football? Yeah. Like, we love the Redskins here at Crossroads. So I know there's at least two of you here who like the Cowboys or something. But the rest of us love the Redskins, okay? So, all right, so got you awake, got you thinking. All the time people will say to you the things that they love. Like, it's not unusual for people to say, I love this particular drink from Starbucks, or I love this restaurant, or I love this car, I love this band, I love this baseball team, I love this baseball player. People will tell you all the things that they love, but you rarely hear anybody say that they love their church. You rarely hear that. In fact, a lot of times what you hear from people are the things that they don't like about their church, right? And it goes from, staff to, to feeling left out, or just they didn't like the music or whatever. People are always going to tell you the things that they don't like about their church. And, if we were at the Homeowners Association meeting, or if we were at the Little League ball field, and people started to say the reasons why they don't like Little League team, or the leadership there, they don't like the Homeowners Association, or they don't, whatever it is, those kinds of things, or work maybe, I think in those moments you're like, that makes sense. It makes sense for people to complain about those things, but it doesn't make sense to me for people to not love their church, or to love the church. So let me just kind of fill you in on a little secret. I love my church. I love my church. I love this church. I love, don't get me wrong, I also love the church, like the church being those who are followers of Christ and have been changed by the gospel and are spreading that message and making disciples. I love the church, but there's something really special in my heart about this place, this congregation. I love when we were in Nicaragua. I love being in Belize. I love all of those places where you see the church meeting at different places and doing different things, but there's something really special about this place, and I just love this church, and I know that you do too. I think the church should be different than the rest of the world. I think we should say, we love the church. I think it's wrong for us to say, I love ice cream, but I tolerate the church. I love the beach, but I'm not real big on the bride of Christ, the church. I don't understand that thought. And so we want to talk about what it means to love our church. And I want you to know that your elders, your staff, your leadership team has been praying and working since January to kind of pick up on the culture of this church. Who are we? What are we doing? What are we about? And what are some places where we want to go? What are some things we want to be? And we've really worked hard to kind of pull together some culture statements that we want to share with you over the next few weeks together, okay? I think if you have a good eye, you can walk into any organization and pick up the culture of that organization. If you have a good eye, you can. You can walk into the school, you can walk into a church, you can walk into a business, you can walk into a home, and you can kind of pick up on the culture. Say, oh, this is what they do, and this is why they do what they do, and this is how they make decisions, and this is how people act when they get hurt, and this is what people do when they get challenged. And we've really worked hard to kind of identify who we are as a church and where God's calling us to go and how we can be different than the rest of the world. And so over the next few weeks, I want to share with you these culture statements that your leadership of this church have put together and really prayed over to say, who are we? Who are we, and what in the world are we doing? Okay, so here's the first one. And to be honest with you, it should be you should be pretty used to hearing this. This is one that we've been talking about a lot as we've been learning together over the summer and over the year. And here's the idea. We don't want to be normal. Crossroads, we are not normal. Can you see it? Everybody see it? We are not normal. We're not normal. And I love the fact that we're not normal, because the truth is that normal isn't working, guys. Normal is completely broken. And we use a verse when we talk about this in Matthew chapter 7. It says, enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to what? Destruction. And many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few will find it. Jesus is being very clear to us that there are two different roads. There's a broad road where a lot of people will find themselves on that road. They'll follow that road. In fact, that road is where we find normal people all the time. They're on that broad road, and they're just doing what normal people do. But the problem with being on that road is it says that it leads to destruction. And there's a different road that Jesus talks about. There's a narrow road. There's a smaller road that few people find. Few people find. These are those that are different, those that are not normal, those that are following Christ with all of their heart. And only a few will find that road, but it leads to life. And the truth is that when you get plucked off of that really broad road, when you get plucked off of it and you find yourself traveling on a narrow road, people are going to call you weird. People are going to call you different. People are going to say, that person is not normal. So let's just for a moment, what is normal today? What is normal today? Well, I sat down with my wife last night and I was like, what is normal today? We started to kind of walk through it. Well, the word normal just means like the usual, average, typical state. So if we want to say, hey, we're not normal, we got to understand what normal is. So here's what we believe, what I think normal is, okay? Just watch the news first. Go watch the news. It doesn't matter what news channel you pull up or which one you prefer, Fox or CNN. That's not about any of those things. But just watch the news for a few moments and you'll begin to see what normal is. Go stand in the grocery store with your roll of paper towels and your ice cream and look at the magazines and the periodicals that are right in front of you. You're going to see what's normal these days. What's the average thing that people are doing? What's the broad road? Where are the people on the broad road? Just begin to think about the things that were on the news before the hurricanes came through. What was the news talking about? Division, and we see division and riots and anger. We see all of those very normal things, but we don't want to be normal. We want to be plucked off of that road and onto a road that's more narrow and will lead to life. Normal is debt. Normal is being unhappy about this life. Normal is self-centered and selfish. Yes, right? Normal means let's consume everything. Let's not give. Let's just consume and consume and consume. Normal means let's talk bad about people. Let's just trash people. Let's see what they're wearing and let's make fun of them. Let's look at their face and say they're ugly. Let's say people are nasty or disgusting. Let's just be that way because it's normal. That's how normal people talk about others. Normal means that you don't forgive people. You instead of forgiving, you seek revenge. You trash them. You make their life miserable. You ignore them. You do whatever you can. Normal is being late or being like this lack of courtesy. Normal means that you're not going to commit to something, because if you commit to something, you might miss out on committing to something else that you might like better. So we're not going to commit. So we might say yes to you when you ask, but the yes doesn't really mean yes. It really means no or maybe or I might, but yes doesn't mean yes. Normal means stressed out, right? Overwhelmed. Normal means you just follow the crowd. Normal means that you're not willing to recognize your own wrongdoings. Normal means that you're coasting in life. It's like I just want to get past this day, this week, this month, this year. I want to make sure my kids do okay. They don't end up in jail. But at the end of my life, I'm going to retire. I'm going to save a lot of money. I'm going to retire. I'm going to go to play golf every day for the rest of my life or garden for the rest of my life. That's normal, just to kind of coast and look forward to the future and what it might be. Like all of those things are normal, but Crossroads, do we want to be normal? Am I the only one who doesn't want to be normal? Crossroads, do we want to be normal? We don't want to be normal. And how many of you would say you believe God has something better for you than the normal life? He does, yeah, He does. And so we don't want to be normal, because being not normal, although there are challenges with it, it's way, 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 way better. Way better. So when you start to live not normal, people are going to call you different. They're going to call you weird. They're going to call you odd. And I hope that you'll embrace a spirit today of that's okay. That's all right, because it's way better that way anyway. So let's look at a few scriptures together. In 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 16, God told us to be something, and here's what He says. God said, be holy. Why? Because I am holy. Be holy because I am holy. Now that word holy for a lot of years of my life was a very confusing word. I thought it meant the priest was holy, the pastor was holy, the super religious people were holy, but I knew inside of my heart that there were impure thoughts and actions that meant that I wasn't holy or anywhere close to being holy. But what God's saying with that word, when you really understand that word, it means to be set apart. It means to be different. It means to be not like the rest of the world. And we begin to want to please God and live for God, we become set apart. We get put on a different road where we're set apart and we're different and we're holy and we're not like the rest of the world. God's saying this world is unpure, be pure. God's saying this world is just this normal world for everybody else, but don't be normal. Be not normal. In that moment, Crossroads, when you make that decision to strive to please God, you'll be set apart. And when you do that, there's this constant pressure. I mean, students, man, tell me if I'm not saying the truth here. Like when you guys showed up back from being at Nicaragua or a summer, I mean, how quickly do you get back in that moment where the world's trying to pull on you and try to conform back to what's normal? It happens so quick, doesn't it? Yeah, man, it does. It does. And so David struggled with this whole thing. It says in Psalm 69, verses 9 through 12, David said these words to God. He said, God, passion for your house has consumed me. Passion for your house has consumed me. Passion for the things that matter to you, God, the things that you love, I love. I'm passionate about the things of God. There's this sense of hearing David kind of saying, my whole life, I want it to be about you. I want to worship you. I want to give you everything I have. Then I'm consumed by it. The passion of what's important to you, God, is important to me. And he goes on to say, and the insults of those who insult you, God, have fallen on me. In other words, God, I'm on your side so much that I'm right beside you. And when someone shoots an arrow at you, God, it's hitting me. That's how close we are. I love in verse 10, he says, when I weep and fast, they scoff at me. When I dress in burlap to show sorrow, what do? They make fun of me. You guys following? I love verse 12. It says, and I'm the favorite topic of the town gossip, and all the drunks sing about me. Here's the deal, guys. If you think you're weird and there aren't any drunk people singing about you, you're not weird enough yet. You can get weirder, okay? I mean, when you leave that broad road and you end up on the narrow road, and people are gonna mock you. People are gonna make fun of you. People are gonna scoff at you. People are gonna shoot arrows at you because they're shooting arrows at God, and you're close to Him, and it's going to hit you too. I often think about, I grew up on the water, and so I don't know if have you ever placed a bunch of crabs in a bucket before? Anybody ever do that? You put, maybe you're out the Outer Banks or something, and you pick up a bunch of sand crabs and put them in a bucket, or if you just put crabs in a bucket. What do you see happening when that happens? Like you see those crabs start to try to get out of the bucket. One will be like, hey, I don't want to be in this bucket anymore. Tired of the bucket. I don't want to be here any longer. And the crab starts to try to get their way out. What happens? The other crabs start pulling them in, right? Pulling the other ones in. And that's the constant idea of I'm trying to get out, but other people are pulling me in. And I'm telling you, when you get on the narrow road and you start to follow Christ and you start to get weird, there's some crabby people that are going to start pulling on you. They're going to start pulling on you and be like, come on, come back here. It's better here. It's more comfortable here. Don't leave us. Like, come back to the normal. And there's this constant battle in us too, and this pressure, right? This pressure to just be a part of the norm and to not be different. And so, as we talk about these two pressures, I want to give you two types of pressure, and then we'll close. Here's the inward pressure. The inward pressure is just the need to please. The need to please. So if you're taking notes, you can write that down. There's this inward pressure in us, just this need to please. We want to make people happy. We don't want them to think that we're odd or weird. We want to blend in. We want to be normal. And so if we're honest, like anytime God calls us to do something, at least in my life when God has called me to do something, one of the first thoughts that go in my mind is, what are other people going to think about this? Are you guys with me? All right, so, God says, hey, give that to me. Or sacrifice this, or speak to that person. You know, you're sitting in maybe an auto parts store waiting for your car to get fixed or something, and God just begins to impress on you. Speak to that person about me and tell them your story and my story. And the first thing you begin to think is, they're going to think I'm weird. They're going to think something's wrong with me. There's this need to please all the time. Proverbs 29:25. I love this verse. It says, the Bible says that the fear of man, or the fear of people will prove to be a what? A snare. But whoever trusts the Lord is kept safe. I think you should probably circle that word snare. It's an important word for us. It means a trap. Literally, it means, if you've ever seen an animal that gets a hook through their nose. Have you ever seen that, like a ring in their nose? Maybe you've seen a bull like that or something. That's what it means here, like a snare. The fear of man is like that to us. Like there's this hook in our nose, and then what happens? We just get drug along wherever they want to go. Wherever the world's going, we get drug along because we're afraid of what people will think about us. So we just get drug right along. So as you're thinking about the need to please, remember that snare. You don't want that snare in your nose, because that's what the fear of man is. The need to please, and you'll just be led all around the place if you allow that to happen. Don't be afraid of what people are going to think. And don't ever forget this. When we become obsessed with what people think, that's the quickest way for us to forget about what God thinks about us. The moment that we begin to worry about what other people think about us is the moment that we really so quickly forget about what God thinks about us. And what's more important? Like for me, I want to live for the audience of one. I just want to live for God, not for the world and not for people, because I found out pretty quickly that I can't ever please people, right? I can't. But we can please God for sure. So then there's this other pressure that comes along. It's the outward pressure. It's criticism. Now, I have to kind of do a caveat here to say that in America, we kind of have it easy. We're more afraid that somebody's going to make fun of us or call us, holier than thou, or Mr. Holier than thou, or Mr. Church Guy, or whatever. We're more afraid of that kind of criticism when there are people that live in other places of this world that when they believe in Jesus, when they confess Jesus as Lord, their church, their life is in danger. And many are killed because of it. But still, our syrupy American life, we still become afraid of just the criticism of people around us. I think that I remember being at CNU and taking classes at CNU, and just being on a campus can be a challenge at times. But I was on a campus there, and I thought, well, I'll just take this Introduction to Religion course. That'll be a good course for me to take. And man, I'm telling you, the professor in that class, the word for that class was tolerance. And that was the word that was heard the whole semester was tolerance. But what I found out real quickly from being there was that everybody was intolerant of what I believed. I had to be tolerant for what everybody else believed, but nobody would be tolerant about what I believed. And there's this, but I think every day we face these moments where we're like, someone's gonna tease us, someone's gonna make fun of us, and it seems so silly in comparison to those that are giving their life. But I guess I would say, not to fear criticism, but come to a place in your life where you kind of think, you know what, if I'm not being criticized, maybe there's a problem. Like if I'm not being criticized, if people aren't noticing a difference in my life, maybe there's something else deeper going on. Maybe I'm not living. Maybe I am just kind of blending in with the rest of the crowd. Matthew 5:10, Jesus said this, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward. Where? In heaven. In heaven. So there's this constant pressure. I think especially coming through a summer at a church where, we've just seen God do so many incredible things. And now we're all back kind of in the routine. Everybody's back in school. Everybody's back at work. Vacations are over. All those kinds of things. We come into these seasons with such a high in our lives. And how quickly the crabs begin to try to pull us back into what's normal constantly. And Crossroads, we don't want to ever be normal. We can't please everyone. Here's the last point. We can't please everyone, but we can please God. We can please God. We can spend our whole life trying to please people, but I've learned that no matter what I do, I can't do it, but I can please God. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4, Paul says, "For we speak as messengers who have been," what? Been approved by God to be entrusted with the good news. Our purpose is to do what? To please God, not people. To please God, not people. To please God, not people. As the worship team comes, just begin to think about that pull on our heart and our life to be normal. And Crossroads, if we're criticized as a church for not being normal, I welcome the criticism. As a believer in Jesus Christ, if I'm criticized for the way that I live my life, or the things that I believe, or the way that I'm different than the rest of the world, then I welcome the criticism. Because we don't ever want to be normal. We don't ever want to be normal. Would you bow your heads as we close in prayer? God, we have no desire to be normal, and yet in this moment you begin to reveal to us and to our life those places where we've fallen into those things that are normal. God, we want to be different. We recognize this morning that normal isn't working, that what's normal is broken. But Jesus, we know that you are the answer. You're the answer to normal. And when you get a hold of our hearts, God, it's a game changer. Everything changes, and it's so much better. God, help us as believers not to blend in. Help us to be a light in a world that's dark. God, give us strength and encouragement and boldness in moments where we're being pulled back into the world. God, help us to be a church that people look at and just see something different. They see people who love the Lord, God, people who love to serve, people who give generously, people who are committed, people who make their yes, yes, and their no's, no. God, people who love children. God, people who love children that are difficult. God, even this week, as I was sitting in front of Lori this week, God, and she began to share about some children that worship here. And God, that the rest of the world tells them they're not worth it. But God, thank you for the teams that we have back in Kids Community that love on every single child. God, help us to be different. God, I pray for our students who walk back into a school the schools that are so difficult and worldly, and how easy it is to slip back into those moments again, to be the way that we were before you grabbed our heart over the course of this summer. God, we want to be different. God, help us to be people that speak well of each other, who love our church. God, help us to be people who forgive. God, help us to be people who are willing to reconcile and who take the first move, make the first move. God, help us to have our priorities in place. God, help us to be people who just are like a light shining. That those around us would say, there's something different about you. There's something different about your marriage. There's something different about your family. There's something different about the way that you work, the way that you treat others. God, help us to be different. We don't ever want to be normal. God, get us off of that road, that broad road that leads to destruction. God, we want to be on the road that leads to life. And God, we thank you. And we sing this song as an anthem of what you mean to us. And God, how you've gripped our heart and changed us. And as we get ready to sing this song, is there anyone here besides me, your pastor, who would say that God has highlighted, the Spirit has shown light on your life in places where you've been very normal and just like the rest of the world? Is anybody that's like that here that would raise their hand? Thank you. God, thank you for those who have been so honest this morning. God, help us to be different and not normal. In Jesus' name, amen.